Welcome back, beautiful souls. This is the Luminary podcast, and I am your host, Annie Perry, professional psychic channel, seer, spirituality, and manifestation teacher. But I think today the most important out of all of those, all of those many things that I do is going to be psychic channeling. So for the first time, I am going to be teaching you guys here on the podcast for anyone who wants to learn to get started with the steps, what I believe as a professional, the proper steps to start psychic channeling and to get your channel open again, to remember how to do this because you have done this before. There are more versions of you in existence that operate completely through telepathy than there are versions of you that will ever exist that operate through vocal communication. So while you might feel like you are learning something new in this lifetime, I assure each and every one of you that you have done this many, many times before. And there are so many versions of you out there that are eager to get into direct connection with you to start assisting you in your life's biggest questions. What your soul purpose is, what you came here to do, what your role is in the new earth, and all of the spiritual and emotional maturity development that is ready to come through you. And so over the years, I have not felt called to teach this on the podcast, and yet in the last few months, I knew that it was time, that we were ready, that we were at a collective place where many of you are ready to start doing this. And it used to be something that was a little risky, and these days is extremely low risk. And I'm going to teach you how to mitigate the risk of, connecting with beings that don't have your best interests at heart, and connecting you with your spiritual team, your angelics, your galactic family, all of these ascended masters, all of these beings, these parts of yourself that are so ready and waiting to be fully plugged in and connected with you, to be your coach, to be your mentor, to be your spiritual guide. That is their day job. That's what they get up and do every day. Most of them don't sleep, but for the small portion that do take rest, most of their time is spent assisting past, what you call past, what we think of as past, but it's really past parallel versions of themselves. And that is why our universe is just so perfect, because everyone is taken care of through their own over soul. It's a very efficient universe. So I'm really excited to jump in and start giving you guys some steps and teaching you how to channel. But first, how the hell are you? How have you been? How have you been? I had a wonderful summer. It was so incredible. I got to teach all summer long. I got to teach Summer of Attraction, and we had the most magnificent time. It's a Voxer program that I taught, teaching the law of attraction, teaching universal laws, manifestation, coaching an incredible group of women. It was so much fun. I spent a ton of time at the beach. I spent a ton of time reading, which is one of my biggest passions, and that actually matters in channeling. So we'll talk about how, if you've been a big reader or a nerd or a geek, how that is actually going to help you in your channeling journey. And so I got to read a lot, I got to go to the beach a lot, I got to relax, and I got to tackle this running thing that I have somehow gotten myself into. I chopped off all my hair. Some of you have seen it. I just grabbed a pair of scissors one day and I was like, yeah, I'm done with all this hair. And it was right after I got into running, And I had all of this hair in my ponytail and it's bouncing around and it's sweaty. And I just got home one day and I just grabbed a pair of scissors and chopped it all off. And surprisingly, I don't recommend that for everyone, but I've been doing things with my hair since I was a teenager. And so it worked out fine. It looks good. And so I chopped off all my hair and got really into running, which is, it's not a cult. That's what everyone who's in a cult says. It's not a cult. It's not a cult. It's just a lifestyle choice that takes over your entire life. It's so funny because I've never ran anywhere in my life. I never did sports. I never did really anything very athletic. I have some incredible lifetimes where I was, extreme warrior, like a super soldier, ripped beyond, and these are in all different types of different alien bodies, right? And so not all of them were humanoid. And so I have these lifetimes where I was, I guess we would say, jacked, ripped, super fit, super athletic for the job that I had to do. But in this lifetime, I've been kind of a softie. And so I have been learning a lot. And again, everyone who's in a cult says it's not a cult, but I'm like, this thing is taking over my entire life. I thought you just put on some sneakers and you just run down the road and you use your, Apple Watch to time yourself and see how far you've gone. No. Anyone out there who runs marathons, half marathons, as any kind of running, you already know. You already know where I'm going with this. No. Because if you run, then you have to learn all about everything that goes into running. So now I've been spending huge amounts of time this summer. This is probably why there has not been very many podcast episodes this summer. Blame it on the running cult that I have somehow found myself in, because now I know all of my muscles, the names of the muscles. You have to know all of your conditioning work, your strength training. You have to know exactly how to stretch every single muscle, how to tone these are muscles I didn't even know existed on my body. And now all of them hurt. They all hurt all at the same time. So you spend all of this time, you have to prep yourself, you have to learn all of the nutrition that goes into it, you have to space out, what you eat before a run, how many hours in between that you've eaten, and then the amount of time it takes you to actually go and run 10, 13, 15 miles. And then if you survive, you come back and then you have to go into recovery mode and you have to re-nourish and rehydrate your entire body, and you have to rest, but then you also need to scrape all of the lymph and you need to roll out all of the muscles so that they don't get stiff, and you've got to learn your plyometrics and your warm-ups and your cool downs. It is just, I'm like, what did I get myself into? And the funny part is, guys, I'm all in. I'm eating it up. But at the same time, I'm like, this is so hilarious. Because there's something about running. You get runner's high, and it's a real thing. And the first time it happened to me, I was like, I don't think I'll ever stop doing this because it's such a good feeling. It is such, all those happy chemicals in your brain just release and cascade through your entire nervous system. And you're like, I could die right now, but I could also fly right now at the same time. So yeah, I'm loving it a lot. I'm learning a lot. It takes up so much of my time, but I am training for the Seattle Half Marathon, which hopefully I'll get to do, and hopefully a marathon after that. I don't know. It could go anywhere. So there's so many stories out there. Once you start following running people on social media, they're like, yeah, 4 years ago, I could barely run a mile, and now I do 100K ultras. And I'm just like, oh, I can see how it's a snowball effect, because it does feel so good. It's the only kind of pain that feels so good. So I'm really loving it. I'm really enjoying it. And I have no idea what I got myself into, but we're just gonna keep running and see where it goes. It is autumn vibes here in the Pacific Northwest, and so the leaves are turning, it's cloudy, it's getting a little bit rainy, it's cooling down here, and so it's podcast season, right? It's podcast season. It's time for you to have like some good books, some good shows, some cozy rewatches of your favorite movies, and to have like some delicious podcasts to listen to while you are working or working out or whatever you're doing throughout your day. I am wishing every single one of you the absolute just best right now. We're in a really, really good place on Earth. As far as ascension goes, I guess we'll just jump into some ascension updates. We've been through like 49 gates in the last month. There are so many that I was just like, fuck it, I can't keep up with all of these gates. Like they're just opening left, right, front, center. They're all over the place. You're in a giant gate. You're in a vortex. You're in the portal. It's all happening, whether you want it to or not. It's happening. And honestly, for me, I think it's awesome. We're in a really great place. Humans are doing better than ever. If you're watching the news actually hasn't been that bad lately. And so there's a lot happening out there. If you know what to look for to see that ascension is gaining a lot of momentum with humans, they're becoming more and more aware, more and more conscious. The skirmishes that we see in different areas of the world, just keep in mind that those souls did come here to attempt to work out some of that karma before the karma is released from the planet, and they have to take that to a different planet in order to work on the problem. And so that's happening on a planet that I call Earth 2, and then there's another one, I guess I'll just start calling it Earth 3. I haven't really channeled what the official galactic names of those planets are, but that is where souls are going to be going who want to continue on the karmic path, because this planet is ascending and leaving karma behind. And you are being released from karma. You're being released from karma. You're being released from time. The toxins inside of your body are going to start releasing themselves. So if you are finding yourself with an autoimmune or a bunch of lymph nodes that are swollen, or you're getting sick a lot, that is literally the negative energy in your body that you accumulated over time of being on this planet. Happens to every single one of us. Absolutely no one here is exempt. We come here for the experience, and that energy is trying to leave your body. It is delete time. It is clearing time. So it's getting cleared out. And a lot of this is happening for you. People ask me all the time, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And what I've really noticed over the last 6 months is I'm not getting that question as much anymore. I think a lot of people are just relaxing and realizing most of the work, 98% of the work, is just being done for me. My job here on this planet is to follow my passions, to feel good, to focus on feeling good, to focus my mind on working towards positivity, working towards thinking about things that I love, that I like, that please me, that feel good to me, so that I can be in flow with the positive energy that's coming on to this planet. And I can be also in that flow of releasing the negative energy, letting that go, turning my attention away from it. Something that I've personally been doing a lot of lately is thinking about the kind of conversations I want to be a part of. And this has really come up a lot on social media. You know, people love to use, and this is a good time to make my announcement. People love to use social media as a place to just fight it out, a place to be heard. You know, it's like all their childhood trauma and, you know, all the ways that they weren't heard by other people. They love to force their opinion on the nameless, faceless people, the conglomerate glob of the internet, right? They love to just throw it out there because at some point in their life, no one listened to them. No one heard their opinions or ideas. No one taught them to value themselves, their energy, their time, their words. No one taught them to do that. And that was most of us. And so a lot of people kind of throw away their energy on opinions all over the internet on everything that they come across. They just feed their energy into it because you're a creator being. You want to express yourself. You want to express your energy, but there are a lot of different ways for you to do that. And so as I've come across a lot of these conversations on the internet, I've realized I don't want to be a part of these conversations. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to give my time, energy, or attention to them. A lot of them are driven by duality. A lot of them are driven from the healers, the circle of healing, which is, I've got to rehash out all of my childhood trauma, everything that happened to me so that I can feel seen and feel heard. Listen to me as someone who did that literally for 4 years straight. I mean, every day, multiple times a day, hours a day. You will never, ever, ever, ever get to the bottom of that barrel. You will never reach a place in a healing journey where you feel healed. Because the whole point of being in it is that your attention is on, I am wounded. There is something wrong with me. And therefore, you can only manifest another wound, something else that's wrong with you. That's how law of attraction works. And if you're not familiar with law of attraction, I've got the free masterclass on wellspringofficial.com linked in the show notes. You guys can take that class. It's a 2-day masterclass. I really encourage you to watch it beginning to end, all the way to the end, because it's a complete transmission altogether. And so as I've seen these conversations, and a lot of them around, the healing and the trauma, and a lot of them men versus women, women choosing not to have children, women choosing to be single, a lot of these things that, of course, somehow the algorithm knows. The algorithm is trying to feed me based on my demographic. And I'm just like, I don't want to be a part of these conversations. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to think about it. And it has cleared out so much of my energy and my mental time and my mental space to not think about or consider or give any of my awareness to conversations that are not what I desire to be thinking about. And this can happen with your friends. This can happen with your family. This can happen, little things that come up that you just decide, no, I don't want to be a part of that conversation. I don't want to give it my time, energy, or attention. Cleaning it up. So my announcement is that my Instagram and my YouTube pages are now comment-free zones. So the comments are turned off on both of them. And it wasn't that I was necessarily getting a lot of negative comments. It's that when we were doing some receivership work during Summer of Attraction, so in that course we were doing work on, opening up to receive, and I really started to think about how we consume this free content that people create, and we immediately go back into masculine energy and feel like we need to respond. Oh, you gave this to me. Now I immediately need to throw the ball back in your court by responding to you, by telling you what I think of it and my opinions about it and everything that I know about it, everything that I've ever learned about it, writing you an essay or and it's being in too much masculine energy, and we have enough masculine energy. Trust me, you have too much masculine energy. I'm just going to say it to all of you. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you've been lounging on a divan eating grapes that someone is feeding you. You have too much masculine energy. It's a blanket statement for the whole planet. You have too much masculine energy. And we have to start balancing ourselves. We have to start balancing ourselves, which means you need to allow yourself to just receive something without feeling the immediate need to respond to it. I think that's why people love podcasts so much. Because you just listen and it's like, you really have to go out of your way to go on there and write a review or something. And if you write a review, that's the only one that you can write, and that's done. But if you're listening on a podcast app, you just listen. You just receive it. And then you go on with your day. I think that's why you like it so much. Because for once in your life, for once during your day, you're just receiving it. It's free. It's a gift. It's something that someone created for you. You don't have to go into response mode about everything. I do believe that the social media of the future, it's not going to go away. It's how we're connecting all of these millions of people that are on the planet. It's how we're connecting all of them. And there's a lot of galactic energy behind social media too. I won't name names, but Instagram, Pleiadians, YouTube, Arcturians, okay? TikTok, probably the Andromedans. Let's be real. They're always a little too generous. There's a lot of galactic energy behind these social media creations because there's a lot of positive ways it can be used. One, people are learning about things that you were never going to learn in school. You were never going to be taught about your whole spiritual life, all the things that you've discovered. You were never going to be able to hear all these conversations that are happening on podcasts, but also different creators on social media. You were never going to learn all of this stuff anywhere else. So they needed this planet to have an influx of information, and the information is how we remember who we are. So it's not going away, but it is going to evolve. And I do believe that the social media of the future is not going to have comment sections. It's not going to have this volley of masculine energy where the masculine energy just starts to stew and stew and stew until it becomes negative. We've got to balance. So keep that in mind next time that you're out there. Obviously, when you come into contact with my work, it's a comment-free zone, and it's just for you to receive. Just receive it. Just receive it as it is. Just allow yourself to just have something without feeling like you need to do something about it, right? You're going to find yourself, if you start to cultivate that energy, you're going to find yourself in such a state of gratitude that you'll forget all of the little nitty things that you wanted to pick apart and criticize about social media and content creators and whatever it is that you are consuming. And frankly, as a content creator, I don't want to hear people's criticisms after I get done spending hours and time and labor and love creating something that's a gift for someone else, to have them kind of toss negativity in my face after I give them that. Honestly, like, fuck off. Fuck off. This is my world. This is my podcast. If you have opinions, you should go start your own podcast. And I actually have an upcoming episode where I'm going to teach you how to do exactly that. So that's a little teaser for later. All right, lots of lessons: ascension, receivership, balancing your energy between masculine and feminine. Now we're going to get into some psychic channeling 101. What I want you to do is I want you to listen to everything I'm going to teach you. I want you to go out and practice and try it. And if you feel like I want to learn from you, either one-on-one or in a group with me, I want you to send me an email or send me a DM on Instagram at @IamTheWellspring, and I'm going to start putting together a new list of people to either take through as a group or to do some one-on-one psychic channeling courses with. I haven't opened my psychic channeling mentorships in about a year. I think about a year ago is the last time I took clients into it. And we've done groups and we've done one-to-ones. And so there is a lot of potential there for us to have a really good group that goes for a long duration, or for us to do a one-to-one that is a little bit shorter, where you get more one-on-one time with me. Because I really want to teach those of you who are eager to learn in order to bring more information from the field, from the Akashic records, that's going to help humanity, that's going to be positive, that's not going to be fear-mongering or conspiracy theorizing or bringing all the negative shit that happened on other planets to this planet. Like, we already have enough of that. Not for you to just dig around in all of your past lives to find out if you were someone famous. Trust me, you probably weren't. So I really want to teach people that have a heart to do this to help and support humanity. And I know that the ones that I have already taught this, that is where their heart is. They really want to do this to support what they are creating in this world and the information that they're bringing in. Because when you master channeling, with great power comes great responsibility. Massive responsibility. I truly believe that I was able to master channeling to the degree that I have, and the amount of beings that I am able to channel, because I take it fucking seriously. Because I use discernment and wisdom when I am channeling. And I don't bring every fucking negative thing that you can find infinite negative things out there in the field, and I don't bring it here and cause more trouble than what we already had going on. I try to use it for the upliftment, for the positivity, for the ascension of this planet. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I believe in. And I know that because I've taken that responsibility so seriously, that is why so many beings are willing and ready to work with me. So I want you to keep that in mind. What are your intentions? And you can purify and clarify your intentions. Maybe you had a negative intention at first and you wanted to know if you were Marilyn Monroe, and you realized that you're not, that was probably just driven by your ego or whatever. And you can purify your intentions. So don't let that count you out. Purify the intention, start taking it seriously. It's a responsibility. And the more that your energy shifts into that, the easier this is going to be for you. The first thing that I tell my clients when they come into a channeling mentorship with me is, you've been channeling your whole life. You're channeling right now to some degree because you're already thinking about connecting with these other parts of yourself. You are channeling when you are doing something creative. You are channeling when you are problem solving. You are channeling when you are using your imagination. You are channeling when you're having a lot of those conversations in your head. When you're ruminating over something and you are trying to find a solution for it, you're trying to find an answer for it, you immediately start to tap into higher levels of awareness and you start channeling in information from that aspect of yourself. So you've been channeling your whole life just unaware of it, and it happens so fast in your mind and in your head that you have to really be able to pay attention to it. But the reason I say that is because I want you to start throwing away the doubts. Throw the doubts out the window and just commit to getting better at it. Just accept that you've always been doing it and commit to getting better at it. Throw the doubts out the window. The number one thing I hear from people is, I'm not sure if it's my voice or the voice of God. It's like, you're God, that's the voice. It's your spirit team. It's you. It is you, because they're you. What you're attempting to do when you say, I'm not sure if it's me or them, is you're attempting to create separation. I'm going to teach you how to create the separation so you can build up your channeling muscle, but you will get to a point when you start to realize there is no point to having separation, because this is just a different level of me speaking through me. And that's when you get to the place where you're like, I'm not channeling. I'm not a channel anymore. I'm just the I am presence. It's just coming through me at all times, the way that I would like to express it. But on your journey, it's going to be really helpful for you to connect with the part of yourself that is the galactic families, to get information on your soul mission and kind of help orient you so you can start being in alignment with the life you intended to live. Getting connected with the Ascended Masters. They are primarily going to be doing, the wisdom work on you, giving you wisdom, giving you advice, helping you with the emotional aspect too, because the galactics tend to be not as deep in the emotional turmoil that we experience here, but the ascended masters tend to really, really understand that part of it. And then, of course, the angelics who take care of things like fear. Maybe a fear of death, loved ones, your own personal protection, and so many other things. I joke with my angel all the time that she's my personal assistant because I'm like, oh, I need you to do this and do this and do this and change that person's mind and manifest this. And then can you get the door? And oh, my favorite one lately is, can you hold the light? So whenever I'm driving and I see a green light, I'm like, hold the light, please. And so the light will stay green until I'm through it. So many things. So it really is fun to get to know all of these different aspects of yourself. So throw the doubts away. You've been channeling your whole life. You're just a little unaware of it, but now you're going to become more aware. Now, the next thing that I tell clients in my programs is your space. This is big. This is like prep work, right? And so one of the first things I do before we even meet up the first time or we go to have a class or anything, there's a whole prep work episode. And some of you who have taken Psychic Channeling 101, that course, you know this. The prep work is that you need to clear your space. The number one reason when I go to troubleshoot with someone why their channel is not clear and why they're having trouble getting into a high frequency is because of the house, the furniture, the energy around them where they are trying to channel from is very low vibrational. So you need to set up a space in your home that is very clean, that is free of anything that is like an antique, free of anything that belonged to somebody else, because if you don't know how to clear furniture, most of your furniture has a bunch of other people's energy all over it. So even if it's just an empty space and you've got nothing but like a pillow to sit on, that's fine. It's when you start bringing all the antiques with you and you've got, great grandma's wrath, her anger energy, whatever pissed her off in her lifetime, hanging out there with you, dragging your energy down, it's going to be very difficult for you to get into the channeling frequency. So it needs to be clear. You can use crystals. You can use salt. Salt is best. Salt is much better than crystals. Crystals are great for when you actually get into the higher frequency. Salt takes care of the negative energy. It absorbs negative energy. That's why witches love salt. And that is why you never gonna find me anywhere without some Himalayan salt somewhere on me or next to me, wherever. And I've got a big chunk of Himalayan salt right next to me on my desk, and it just absorbs negative energy. So what you can do if you don't have Himalayan salt is you just get a little bowl and you pour some salt in there. Himalayan, I find, is best. It holds the most amount of negative energy in the smallest amount of space. So you can use that. You can use whatever kind of salt that you have. Really, any of it will work for absorbing low-grade negative energy. You don't want to bring a lot of things into it. You don't want to bring a lot of books. You don't want to bring a ton of tarot cards. You don't want to bring a ton of candles. All of that stuff has energy attached to it already, and not all of it is great for you. I know that these have for a long time been seen as spiritual tools, but when you are just starting out, you really want your space to be as clear as possible. And you just want like some salt there with you. You can have maybe a bowl of water too. Water also absorbs a lot of energy. But it needs to be a clear place. It needs to be a place where you actually already start to feel good. Some people try to go out in nature the first time that they want to channel, and I just have not really heard any success stories. Nature is wonderful for channeling. You will tap into things beyond your wildest dreams. But when you are new to channeling and your channel hasn't reopened very much, you're probably just going to get distracted out there. So be in a plain room somewhere quiet, put on some meditation music. Do not lay down because you will fall asleep. Sit up and have a notebook with you because you need somewhere to record the messages that are going to come through, they're going to come through very quickly. And if you've ever been in session with me, you know that I always say, like, I'm not going to remember any of this after it comes out of my mouth. So that's why we're going to record it. And that's why you can bring your notebook with you, because once it comes through your channel, it's gone. So then you have to go back into your records or back into your cosmic memory to retrieve it. So your prep work is having a clean space, having some salt in the space, having a notebook, and none of your fucking antiques, okay? I know that's offensive to all of you who are thrifters. No antiques, because if you don't know how to clear that object, you have no idea what's attached to it. And I've seen people struggle so long trying to channel, and it's like the chair that they're sitting on is like 100 years old, and it's got all of this just old, negative, dense energy attached to it. So no old shit, just new shit. All right, step 3, if we're counting steps, is the channeling frequency. This is the most important thing I'm going to tell you. If you don't listen to me about the space and the antiques and the salt, please listen to me about this, because if your channel is naturally somewhat open, maybe you've had experiences where you've heard voices or you've seen things. Some of you have messaged me and said that you've seen spirits and things you couldn't explain. And so your channel is already a little bit open. It's not, your pineal gland isn't as calcified as most of the people around you. So your third eye is doing its job and it's working and it's seeing through the veil. And so if you are in what I call the earth frequency, it's just a given that it's a negative frequency. It's not actually a positive charge. We haven't quite reached where the entire planet is in a positive charge. So if you're just a human living your life here, you exist naturally in a somewhat negative frequency. Which means that the moment you step out into the field and you start channeling something, the only beings you can connect with are other beings in a negative frequency. Your spirit team is not in a negative frequency. They're in a very high positive frequency. And in order for them to connect with you clearly, for you to start understanding the messages that they're sending through to you, you have to raise your frequency. You've got to meet them somewhere in the middle. They will reach as far as they can, but they cannot cross over into negative frequency. If they were to cross over into negative frequency, it would mess up your whole oversoul. I mean, it would have like catastrophic results. So they will not do that. But they will go as far as they can to meet you. And it's so much easier if you rise higher, because you're able to choose your frequency on this planet, for you to rise higher and meet them there. That's how you're going to get a very clear channel. So how do you raise your frequency? Should be your next question. This is why I don't want you on grandma's old chair trying to channel. This is why you don't want to have a bunch of things around you, because what they do is they bog down your frequency. Your aura is about 3 to 6, it can even be 9 feet, so a couple of meters wide, and it's all around you. And it's touching everything around you, and it's absorbing energy. Energy is very sticky. It sticks to everything. On top of the fact that everything in our reality is actually vibrating and holding its own frequency. So step 1 of raising your frequency is for you to not have negative frequency objects inside of your own home. And then it's for you to reach into the core of your being and begin the process of opening your upper centers that hold a high frequency. So we begin. So you are sitting there in your channeling space that you have cleared out, and you've got some salt, and that's just going to absorb any little negative energy that's been hanging around your home or inside of your aura. And you're going to begin to go into a meditative state that is opening up the heart chakra and raising your frequency rapidly. I've done this so many times that I can do this without even blinking. So you're going to get very, very good at this, especially in this lifetime. Like, you were born to do this, okay? You're going to start focusing all of your awareness and your attention on the heart chakra. Not on the root chakra, not on the sacral, not on the solar plexus. Those were designed to be able to give you a negative experience. That's why they're called the lower chakras, and they're associated with the lower mind, the lower realms, third density, third dimension, fourth dimension, astral realm. We need to go higher. We're going into the upper realms, the higher realms, the upper mind. And the way that your chakras work, and really your entire body and all of the different bodies that you have layered over it, emotional, mental body, physical body, the cells, the organs, the way that all of that works is through your commands. It's a computer system. If you know anything about computers, you know that you need to give it a command. You need to click a button. You need to do something to get it to do what you want it to do. It's listening. It's waiting for your command. We always start by focusing all of our energy, our attention, our awareness on the heart chakra and commanding it to open, commanding it to activate, feeling that energy start to open. Maybe for some of you, you'll feel a perfect spiral. Maybe for some of you, you will feel some tingles. Maybe you'll feel a pressure inside of your chest. That means that you have some negative energy that's been blocking that chakra. That's okay. We can very easily get rid of that. But we need to open the chakra. We need to open the heart center. We do this through commands. Heart chakra, open, activate. And then you're going to focus as if your life depends on it. Because when you're new at this, trust me, your mind is going to be going to a million different places. So I want you to focus like your life depends on it, on the person or pet that you love the most in the entire world unconditionally. Unconditionally. This is like a child or like grandma. This is not someone that you've got beef with. This is not your spouse that you've been arguing with all week. This is not someone that you feel complicated emotions when you think about them. This is that person or pet, right? Like, we don't have complicated feelings towards our pets. We just love them. It's just pure unconditional love. They have no ego, so they have no karma to bounce off of us. They just receive our love, and we adore that because our energy wants to move. So I want you to think about person, pet, but be very careful. I've had many clients who, when we're troubleshooting why it's not working for them, it's like, oh, they're thinking of their partner, but they have really complicated emotions towards their partner. They're thinking about their child, but they're having really complicated emotions about their child. And so it's not working. They're not getting into that place of just unconditional love. When I started this, I would think about my grandma. She's on the other side. I loved her. No complicated emotions. But if I were teaching my mom how to channel, I would not tell her to think of her mother because she has complicated emotions towards her mother. So you've got to find that person or that pet or that animal that it's just pure unconditional love. No complicated emotions. You've got to focus on that love that you have, feeling that love. When you are focused on that love, it is like fuel for the heart chakra, and the heart chakra starts to rapidly open, rapidly activate, rapidly clear blocks that you may have had for many, many lifetimes, right? So it's a process. There's practice that goes into this. But what will happen when you start to focus on this love is that your entire aura, in fact, scientists can now measure this. Your entire aura, the energy, the frequency coming out of the center of your chest starts to rapidly rise, which means that you're vibrating faster than you probably ever have in your whole life. You're vibrating faster. In fact, my whole body is getting chills just thinking about it. You're vibrating faster, and that energy is starting to vibrate out of the center of your chest, from the back of the spinal column, through the heart center, out into the aura. And what it does inside of the aura is it lifts the entire frequency of your body, your whole being. Everything, all of that shit that you've been through, all of those negative thoughts, it starts to purify everything. It starts to purify the lower centers, purify the mind, opening up the third eye, clarifying the crown. Everything is working now the way that it wanted to, the way that it has always wanted to. And you start to feel a euphoria come over you. You start to feel happiness, bliss. If you're someone who has lived in generally a very low frequency, maybe you've been through a lot on this planet, the first time you do this, you might feel a resistance to feeling good, to feeling this love, to feeling this way. And that's okay. You just keep practicing. You just keep allowing it. Allow it to do its job. Like I said before, 99% of the work is being done for you. So you're focusing on that love and you're allowing your frequency to rise. Now you are in the frequency to channel your spiritual team. Step 4, you need to decide who it is that you're going to channel. Who are you reaching out for? Now, if someone was doing this on their own and they had no idea what they were doing, they could kind of connect with just anyone. If they were in a high frequency, there's a very low chance that they could ever connect with someone negative. If they're not in a high frequency, there's a very high chance that you could connect with someone negative who's pretending to be someone positive. That's why frequency is the most important part. So the more time that you allow yourself to get in a very high frequency, the more you have these doors open to all of these higher dimensional, high frequency beings that can connect with you. So you're going to need to choose who it is that you want to talk to. There are beings that will come to you if you just kind of open the door and say, like, I'm open to connecting with ascended masters that are working with my soul right now. So you're going to have some ascended masters come through. And same thing with the galactics. But most people are a little too afraid to just open the door like that and say like, yoo-hoo, whoever wants to come through, come through. So you need to decide who you're going to channel, because if you don't decide, per the law of free will, they will not violate the law of free will and just barge into your mind. But if you call them, there is 100% chance that they will come. 100%. So many of them are just like waiting on the sidelines. They're like, I have been with you your whole life, cheering you on, trying to give you advice, trying to answer your questions, trying to comfort you when you've been sad, doing all of these things. I'm so ready to connect with you. So what I recommend for the first being, I'm going to give you a couple of different being options from your spirit team that I recommend connecting with first as you're developing your channeling skills. And the first one is your wisdom keeper. Your wisdom keeper is the 5th density version of yourself that's holding your soul's collective wisdom. Often they are also an Akashic record keeper, and so they've got all of your Akashics kind of on hand as well. And the reason that I recommend them is, number 1, you've probably got questions about your life. And the one to answer is going to be your wisdom keeper. Like, they've got the tea on all the things, okay? So you've got some questions. And the other reason is because they will come to you in a different form than the one you're inhabiting right now. This is so important, and I think that this is why a lot of people get confused and they're like, I don't know if I'm actually channeling someone or if I'm channeling myself. And it's like, the answer is you are channeling yourself, but you want to feel like you're channeling a different part of yourself. Like, I get it. So when you're channeling like higher self and you're like, I just want to connect with my higher self, la, 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 higher self, come forward. It's so vague because literally every version of you, including who you are tomorrow, is your higher self. All right. So maybe you get more specific and you're like, I want my 6th density version of higher self who's in charge of all the spirit guides. Okay. So that's more specific. But your higher self, their energy signature is so similar to yours that's why you're having a hard time being able to tell the difference between if you're talking to this version of yourself or a different version of yourself, because they could look like you, they'll sound like you, they'll talk like you. So that can be very confusing when you're brand new at this. So don't go for the higher self. Just keep in mind that like they're all versions of your higher self, and go for the wisdom keeper. The wisdom keeper will usually take on a form of an elder, right? Because that is representing that they are holding all of the wisdom, everything you've learned across all the lifetimes. So they'll usually come to you as an old woman, an old man. They will typically take on a humanoid form or look completely human if you are expressing any kind of fear about seeing a different form, or any kind of disappointment about just seeing a being of light and them having no form. They can send any kind of image, and what I find with the wisdom keepers is that they'll almost always take on the form of an elder, and that will look like, someone with gray or white hair, maybe a beard, they're looking like Merlin. The spirit guide, my wisdom keeper, Thrace, that I initially connected with and was my, kind of one-to-one mentor for many years, he came to me in the image of an old man, with white hair and blue eyes, and he kind of had a little bit of a beard, and he was very skinny, and he looked like he meditated all day, right? But where he was in time-space dimension, there was no form. There was no form. And I've told this story before in a different podcast episode that Thrace is a conglomeration of the 9D Arcturian Council that works with me. But I had too much fear about talking to aliens back then that they were like, we'll just come up with like something she's more comfortable with. Okay, like this old guy. So, and it was super comfortable for me, and we were so close. And I still think of Thrace as this other entity, even though Thrace is me. But the 9D Arcturian Council is a 5th density council. So if I had less fear and more interest in connecting with an alien form, they probably would have come to me more alien-like. It's going to depend on what they're reading in your energy. And you can tell them, you can say, I'm not comfortable with an alien form. I'd love to see a humanoid form. And typically the humanoid form that they'll pick is some other incarnation that you've had. It's like costume clothes. They'll just pick one and use that to connect with you. In most of 5th and 6th density consciousness, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can scroll all the way back to like my 3rd episode, which is 7 densities of consciousness. But typically in 5th and 6th and 7th density, there's no form. There is no form. There's no body. There's no chemical body, and there's no light body. You only have these bodies really into 4th density, and then that's it. Then you just become different forms of light. But not everybody loves talking to a ball of light. When I talk to the Elohim, they don't come to me as beings. They come to me as an 8-pointed star. And I'm just talking to an 8-pointed star. So you can be specific and you can make requests to help you get comfortable making the connection. You're already in the high frequency. If you have felt the love and you felt the activation in your heart chakra, you're already in the high frequency. And so you can kind of work with them to connect with a version that gives you something tangible to hold on to. And that will really strengthen your channeling muscle much more than you kind of forcing yourself to get comfortable with aliens and balls of light and talking to all of these different forms that they could take on. Like one time actually I was channeling an ascended master and they were just wind. So I was like, you're just wind. Like, so you don't have to go there when you first start out, but I guess I'll tell you now so that you know when you do get there and you are just talking to an entity that's just wind. All right, so to summarize that, you want to get into the high frequency in your meditation space and you want to choose and call forward who you'd like to speak with. I recommend your wisdom keeper. Another recommendation is your angelic. Your angelic is in a very high frequency. They are 7th density consciousness. There are many different forms of your angelic because their process and evolution through 7th density is probably the longest out of all of the densities. So they start out in somewhat of an individual capacity, and then they move into groups, and then they move into archangel consciousness. So there's a lot of variations that you can connect with. But as you may have heard in religion or in different folklore, you do have a version of your angelic that will guard and protect you. And so people have started calling this kind of your guardian angel. And that's not all that they do. That's just kind of, unfortunately, that's just kind of the reputation that they've taken on. But there's so much more, and they can give you guidance and wisdom and advice. And what I just love about hanging out with my angel all day, every day, I talk to my angel more than any other part of myself. It is like we're just doing everything together. Like we manifest everything together. She helps me understand my heart rate and how far I can go and if I'm dehydrated or not when I'm running, right? So she's like my assistant while I'm running. And so many things, personal security guard, property protection, everything. I think that most people are very comfortable connecting to their angelic consciousness because when you're at 6th and 7th density consciousness, that's when there's no possibility for a being to have negative energy. If you listen to the 7 densities of consciousness, you'll know that negative energy can go as far as late 5th density, and then they have to make the quantum leap to the positive if they want to get into 6th density, and we all have to evolve. That's not a choice. So there's a lot of comfort that comes with channeling an angelic. They also have a great sense of humor. They know the jokes. They also, what I always tell people about angels is that like they have such a good sense of humor and such a peaceful demeanor because they know how the story ends. They're the end of your story. They're the end of your oversoul. They already know that all of the lifetimes lead you to the good stuff. And so because they know that, they live in that state of just complete peace and bliss. There's no inner turmoil. There's nothing that they are striving for. There's nothing that they are attempting to do. They just are. They already are doing it. They already are servicing so many of your lifetimes across time, space, and dimension all at one time. So those are the 2 that I recommend when you first start out. If you're someone that's like, I really want to connect with the galactics, I feel a very strong connection, I'm not afraid of alien forms, like bring it on, then yeah, connect with your galactic family and you can be specific. You can say, I'd like to connect with the Pleiadians that are working with my soul. I would like to connect with the Arcturians that are working with my soul. Just a fair warning about calling on the Arcturians. As an Arcturian, they're going to put you to work. They're going to give you a nice, good, long list of homework to do, and they're going to put you to work. And they're also very blunt and to the point. So connecting with galactics who are typically in 4th and 5th density, very different than connecting with an angelic, right? Totally different experience. Your galactic self has so many personalities. They have so much that they're still learning. They have their own uncertainties about the future because they haven't lived all of the different stories yet. But what they have lived is your story. They already know how your life turns out. They've already lived that. They already remember all of that. All their memory is restored to them. So they have a lot that they would love to help you with, especially when it comes to soul mission, because they're very kind of task and I don't want to say work oriented, but they're very mission oriented. They're very like, we want to do this one thing. We want to create this one thing. We want to build this one thing. And so they are really the ones that have got the T on your soul mission and can lay it out for you in kind of this like step-by-step process. Whereas your angelic is more teaching you like being present and letting it go and, not getting too caught up in working or trying to make things happen. So it's very interesting to me that you're talking to these different positive oriented beings and aspects of self, but they still all have their own personalities. They still all have their own different kind of agendas that they will help you with, that they will bring to your awareness. And so that brings us to step 5, which is you've got to have your notebook ready for you to start writing down the answers to your questions. Here's the way that it works. You've got to ask a question because of the law of free will. Like one time I had this client and she was like, I just don't have any questions. And I'm like, well, that's probably why they're not saying anything because they have to be prompted, right? They want to be prompted. They want to answer those burning questions that you have. But if you don't have any questions and you have no impulse or desire to hear the answer, or maybe you're even afraid to ask a question because you don't want to know the answer, because on a subconscious level, you already know the answer and it's not what you wanted, then of course, you're going to have some confusion in your channeling. But if you've got your questions, you're going to crack open that notebook and you're going to start writing down the answers. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to get into that channeling state and call forward the entity that you would like to connect with. And you're going to ask them, like, can you please present in a form that I can relate to? So they'll give you a form. Maybe it's humanoid. Maybe it looks very human. But be specific. And if they present exactly as you, ask them to rearrange into something that is not your current form. And once you've done that and you've started to kind of see in your mind's eye, and at first it's going to feel like imagination because your imagination is how you connect to the field anyway. So you only know connecting to the field through imagination. And someone told you that it's imaginal, that it's not real. But it actually is the only thing that's real. This place is not real. That place is much more real. So at first it will feel like imagination because that's the way that you understand the process. Just allow it. Allow the imagination to take place. You're going to see the form. You're going to think it's your imagination. You're going to remember that I said that it's actually real. And then you're going to start kind of allowing them to become a little more solid, to have a little more presence. And then I think a great question to start with is, what can I call you? What can I call you? There are so many different names that you could get. I've gotten actual names like Thrace, right? Which is the name of a city in Greece. And that makes sense because Greece is an Arcturian outpost, essentially. And they brought the Greek language here. And so Thrace was the first one that I got. And Angel is just Angel. Like, in my mind, that really is her name. Sometimes my clients will get names like Sophia, Elle. I've gotten Aya. When I asked my own soul name, they said your name is Aya. And it's just I think it's a Hebrew word that means all that is. And that was really when I was learning the vastness of who I am. And so it's not necessarily a name, it's more of a word. So you can get so many names. You can get English words like infinite, endless. That's the most recent one that I've gotten. They were like, your name is endless. You can get different ascended master names. If you're familiar with those, you can get things like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Isis, Auset, Osiris, Thoth. You can get Hermes, which is just a different name for Thoth. So many different ascended master names that could come from the Greek language, the Roman language, or Roman English, I guess, our interpretation. But names that would have been Greek gods, Roman gods, Hindu, Celtic, or Gaelic. So many different names that have come to this planet to help humans understand that there are entities out there trying to support them. So don't be surprised if you get a name like Sophia or Mary, but also don't be surprised if you get a name that you're like, this is so strange sounding. Like, can you tell me what letters to write down? And they'll kind of telepathically send you the letters. And there's also some of the galactic groups that are Ra and Lotwi, the Hathors. So if you connect to a group, they're probably going to give you a group name of what you to call them. And you'll feel the vastness when you're connected to. So all ascended master groups are our group consciousnesses. And the reason we think of them as a single entity like Athena is because that was the easiest way for humans to begin understanding them. But these are group consciousnesses. So there's a lot of different names you could get. That's the best question to start with. And then, of course, you're going to have your own personal questions that you have, and you can write them down ahead of time, and you can just start to begin to channel the answer. Now, this is the kicker. They're going to use, because they can only use, your vocabulary. And I think that's where people get tripped up, is they're like, well, that sounds like me. So is it just my thoughts? It's like, yeah, guess what? It is you, and it is your thoughts, and it is going to sound like you, because they can only use your vocabulary. They're making the translation literally from light, from information light, to a language, and then the English language, and then 21st century language, and then language that you've used throughout your lifetime. And that's the full scope of the vocabulary that they have to work with. So if you have read a word at some point in time, but you've never used that word, they can still use it. That's still available in the vocabulary. But if you've never heard of or read a word or anything like that, they can't use it. It doesn't exist in your programming. And this is why I said at the beginning that my reading habits actually matter. So my whole life I've been a very big reader. Like, I could just read books very quickly. I have a very high comprehension and a very fast reading pace. And the reason for that would later come to be because I needed a big, huge vocabulary for these entities to be able to make more concise channeled transmissions through me. So because I have this big vocabulary, there's more for them to work with. And so it's very pleasant for them to channel through me because there's so many words that they can use to give a more specific translation. Now, you don't need to worry about the translation. They will make the translation. They understand your language perfectly. You do not need to teach them English. They know all of the words and all of the meanings and everything to a degree that you don't even understand yourself, because they're reading everything out of your brain, which is logged in the Akashic records. Everything in your brain is uploaded at all times to the Akashic records, to your records, so they have full and complete understanding of every thought you've ever had, of every conversation you've ever had, everything you've ever wondered, everything you've never understood. They have full, complete grasp of that at a rate of cognition that is technically so fast it's in your future. If you remember me channeling the Pleiadians, The Pleiadians were like, we're operating a couple of days ahead of you because what you're experiencing is already kind of said and done. That's how fast they're operating. So they already, your spirit team already knows if you're going to sit down, if you're going to get in that channeling space. They already know what questions you're going to ask. It's already written in the records. Like, it's already done. So really, it's about you. This is about you. It's about you playing catch up, but also about you learning about yourself. And it's important. It's important for you to have this connection. It's important for you to remember how to do this. This is your natural form of communication. And at first, yeah, things are going to feel a little jumbled and a little vague, and it's going to sound like you, and you're going to have all the doubts come back and all of that. You just keep going. You just keep writing down those answers to the questions. You just keep asking for more. Ask for more understanding, more awareness, more clarification. Can you give me an analogy? Can you give me a metaphor? Can you give me a visual to help me understand this? They love to connect with you. There is, I think, nothing else in the whole universe that they love more than connecting with you. So you get those questions and you start writing down those answers, because when that answer comes through, it's coming through your channel. It's coming in fast. It's coming in hot. It's coming in from a place that you haven't remembered fully. So you've got to write it down. Otherwise, you're going to forget. And if you don't have a lot of practice channeling, you're not going to know how to get into your cosmic memory and retrieve it. What I find with a lot of clients who begin this process and are dedicated to channeling is that all of a sudden they are led to start reading certain books, to start reading certain texts. A lot of these are channeled. Many of you have heard me reading from We the Arcturians, What is Light Body? Some of you might feel called to read The Law of One, channeled transcripts. Some of you might feel called to start reading Bringers of the Dawn and the other Pleiadian channeled transcripts. Some of you might feel called to read The Course in Miracles. And what's going to happen is, if these texts start to come into your reality, when you begin channeling, it's because there is vocabulary and concepts in them that they want to teach you about, but you need the vocabulary first. You need to see the word. You need to see the phrase or the sentence so that they can start to build and expand on it in a way that's relevant to your life. So don't ignore those channel texts that start to come into your reality when you begin this process. So some final reminders for you are, one, if you start to get a headache, stop channeling. Come back to it a different day. Let your brain rest. When you begin channeling, you are starting the process of decalcifying your pineal gland. We haven't even done, at this point, this is just like introduction to get you started with your own spirit team. We haven't even done any opening of the third eye, any crown work, or anything like that. And at this point, you won't really need to. What you need to do is you need to focus on the heart chakra, because the heart chakra can start to open those other upper centers without your help. That's what it does. It has a very large radius once it starts getting going, and it will start to clear out the lower centers and it will start to open the upper centers. So you haven't even done any of that work yet, but because of the energy that's coursing through you, that heart chakra energy, you're going to start to naturally begin decalcifying the pineal gland and opening up the third eye. And what this typically does when you first start out, especially if you chose not to listen to me and clear your space and make sure that you don't have low frequency objects around you, is that you can start to get headaches. You can start to kind of see lights or colors or little auras. Some of that you may associate with a migraine. When I was a kid, I used to get migraines all the time, and really it's just that I had a very open third eye as a kid. but I obviously did not know how to manage the energy. And so I had a very open third eye, and I was around a lot of negative, low vibrational energy. And what that is a recipe for things like migraines and headaches and tension headaches. So if you do start to get a headache, stop channeling, just cut the connection, tell them you'll be back later. And what you can do is you can say, hey, I've started to get a headache. They don't feel physical pain. Your higher levels don't feel physical pain. So you have to tell them if you're feeling physical pain and say, hey, can you help with this? And they will. I think I was telling people on my Instagram stories that when I run, I'm connected with my angelic who's helping me, but then we're also connecting up to the Arcturians and some of the Syrians who like to do etheric surgery. And when I'm running, if I start to have a pain or an ache somewhere, I just immediately connect with the galactics and I'm like, right foot pain on the bottom. Can you do something about that? And in just a couple of minutes, that pain is gone. So they want to assist you with this, but they don't feel physical pain. So you have to tell them where the pain is and ask them for help. You don't need to know what kind of help. You don't need to know how it's going to work. Just ask them and they'll take care of it in the most high frequency, best way possible for you. Another thing that you can do for those of you who have had a pretty open third eye for most of your life, if you're seeing things and you're like, I don't want to be seeing them anymore, I just want to connect with my spirit team, tell your spirit team that. Tell them, I don't want to see spirits. I don't want to see things out of the corner of my eye. Can you help clear whatever that is out of my home, out of my life? I don't want to see it anymore. They'll take care of it. And the last symptom that is probably going to happen to you is that you're going to start having some strange dreams. And this is because you are connecting with the higher dimensions. And so it gives them more of an opportunity to connect with you through dreams, but also because you are opening up that third eye more and you're decalcifying the pineal gland and you're kind of getting a hold of the third eye and being able to manage it more. So, but when you're new at it, you might have some strange dreams, weird things happen in your dreams. And if any of them scare you or freak you out, or you wake up and you're like, I really didn't like the feeling of that dream, just tell your higher levels. And so you're just talking inside of your head, just throw it out there. One of them will take care of it. It doesn't matter if you see them or if you hear back from them or if you even know what they're going to do. Just trust that they're going to take care of it and they'll kind of clear out whatever negative energy in the astral realm was causing those dreams. Okay, I feel like that is a very good starting point for those of you who are serious about sitting down and starting to remember how to do this. And if you are eager to go further and to try more, maybe you've already been doing some channeling and you're like, I want to know what the next step is. I do have my blue flame or violet flame activations on my website, and I'll also link them below in the show notes. So blue flame is for those who feel like they are psychic, they want to channel past lives, Akashic records, all of that kind of fun stuff. And really that energy it's like warrior energy. Like you feel like you're a blue flame, you feel like you're a blue ray, like you came here to help the world. Violet flames are typically people who identify as healer. They are interested in things like Reiki and energy healing. They feel very connected to the angelic realms. They really want to channel those super high frequencies, very high dimensional experiences. And at the end of the day, you have both flames. It's really about what you want to work on right now. The blue flame tends to be more masculine. I am a blue flame channel. That's kind of how I identify myself amongst other channels. And the violet flame tends to just be more feminine. And I have both, and both of them are activated, but I typically refer to myself as a blue flame channel because I like to do, blowing through the Akashic records, going into past lives, galactic history, all of that really fun stuff. So you can start with either of the activations. And then I also have my Psychic Channeling 101 course, level 1. And that is available under my psychic courses. If you decide you want the course, the blue and violet flame activations are included with it. So if you buy the activations separately, you can get a credit towards paying for the course. So you're not buying the activations twice. And if you think that you want to do a live group round with me, or you want to do a one-to-one psychic mentorship, I teach level 1, level 2, and level 3. And so all of that information you can get from me. Just send me an email through my website or a DM on Instagram. We can chat about it, or I can start to put a list together of those of you who want to do a group course. Doing a group course is a more affordable option because I can teach more of you how to do it, so it costs less to teach a group. Doing a private mentorship is more expensive because you get to spend quite a few weeks one-to-one with me, but it's an absolutely incredible experience. We just started Elysium this week. Actually, today was the first day. And so that is a group manifestation course that I teach through Voxer. It's 3 months long, and it is for those who want to learn self-concept, manifestation, universal laws. So if you missed this round, going into Elysium, you can send me a DM to get on the wait list for the January 2025 round that will start. We've also got some new activations. There's the Metamorphosis Lionsgate activation available, and I'm going to be doing a lunar eclipse and solar eclipse activations. And something new that I have dropping that actually you guys will be the first to hear about is an activations membership. So you'll be able to join to have a membership and be able to listen to all of these activations in an activation library. And they're all about 44 to 60 minutes long. These are intense activations. These are not 15-minute YouTube activations. These are really intense. I do light language, I do channeling, the Galactics do energy work, the Ascended Masters do energy work and messages. There's all different beings that I channel for creating these different activations, and they all have a different purpose or theme. If you look at the activations on my website right now, there's a whole shop of them, and there's crystalline light body, there's the crystalline heart activation, golden age activation, metamorphosis, and all of those will be included in the membership. Plus you'll get 2 new activations every month. And so this is just a more accessible way for you guys to be receiving these activations, the channeled energy and all of the energy work that these different Galactics and Ascended Masters would love to perform on you and love to help you with, without having to order a single custom activation. And that was the way that I've been doing it before. So I've kind of been working with my own higher levels to make it bigger, more accessible for more of you guys to get this energy work if that is what you desire. So look out for the activations membership that will be dropping this month, September 2024. I hope that this episode served you well. I hope that you had a good laugh in some parts, but also learned a lot about channeling. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you to everyone that's been listening to the podcast. We're now at 94 countries and territories around the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so appreciative, and we've got some really excellent episodes coming up. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. Share it with someone that might be interested in channeling, that has maybe talked to you about it before. Share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. I don't run ads for the podcast. It is all organic. If you find me, it's because you were meant to find me. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much, beautiful beings of divine light. You already know that I will see you on the next one.